Hi, my name is Matt Edmonds. I am the Director of Admissions here at the Stetson Hatcher School of Business. Thank you very much for joining today. I am joined by Josh Wolfe, who is a fantastic full-time MBA student for us. He graduated last year, I believe. And so Josh, thank you very much for joining me today.
Absolutely, glad to be here.
So talk a little bit about your undergraduate experience. What was your degree in, and why did you choose an MBA program?
Absolutely, yeah. So I started my undergraduate experience right after having worked in industry for 5 or 6 years. I worked in the finance industry and essentially got to a place where I needed to go back to school for undergrad. And so I did a marketing degree at Kennesaw State. And I graduated right in the thick of everything in May of 2020. So May 2020 grads, we had it a little rough. And originally I had a job opportunity lined up for a consulting gig at a mid-sized firm right after undergrad. And ultimately it got pushed back again because of the pandemic and rescinded. And so I was in, I guess it was in I don't know, it was probably in January, or no, it was probably in April of 2020, I guess, where I was back to the drawing board trying to figure out what to do. And the idea was I could either stop my career growth in its tracks and keep, freaking out trying to find a job, or I could use kind of the challenges of the pandemic to set my nose to the grindstone and go back and just keep pushing. And so I chose to do the full-time MBA program.
Fantastic. So yeah, that's quite an adventure during the beginning part of a pandemic. Yeah. So obviously there are a lot of MBA programs out there. So why did you choose Mercer University?
So my thought when I was looking for an MBA, my thought was I need to find the most impactful, quickest yet meaningful MBA that I can find in the area. And at this point, it was 2020 heading into 2021. And I was also looking for some in-person things. We had been, especially towards the end of my program, we'd been in the pandemic a little over a year, and I was looking for some things locally. And so the Atlanta campus was like 20 minutes from me. And so I was able to do that, and I was able to get my MBA done in about 10 months.
So ultimately, location as well.
Location, and time. Yep.
Fantastic. So what was your experience like within the program? So what relationships were you able to build through that actual 1-year program, or less than 1-year program that you were part of?
Yeah, absolutely. So I tell you, one of the coolest things about the MBA program was, especially the full-time program, you're a part of a cohort. You're a part of a group of students where, as you go through your courses, you kind of see a lot of the same faces, and you kind of get to know some of the hard-hitting players and some of the overachievers like myself. And so you get to kind of work with a same set of folks. So that carries you. I find that an MBA, I'd say like half of an MBA, the point is networking. You're trying to earn those relationships with others as you all become business leaders, in various areas and various industries. You're trying to work those connections. And now I can proudly say that some of my Mercer alumni and Mercer friends are leaders across various different businesses that I've got my eye on, in the future. So that was kind of important from the student aspect. And then from the professor aspect, I actually have to say that there is a single professor that I could pretty much claim she's the reason that I chose to go into human capital consulting. And so I built some relationships there. I built several with faculty and staff as I worked through the degree.
And who was that faculty member?
So, it's funny. I knew you were going to ask me that. Yes, it was Dr. Chapman. Yep. Elizabeth Chapman.
So, which is great. And so what was your favorite part of the program? Some of the highlights of the curriculum. Or how did that impact you as you were moving forward professionally?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that some of the higher impact areas, being able to apply a lot of what we were talking about, being able to apply, especially as I was looking into the workforce again, and especially as I was looking for, focusing in on more of a people-centric degree. I felt that the curriculum, really helped me apply towards my professionals. That makes sense? Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, coming through this with regard to like career services, you were coming through, you're a full-time student, so you were a professional student as such.
Right.
What did you take from meetings, from events? Sort of how did that all work for you as you move through that very condensed program as such, moving towards those career goals?
Career services, as you go through the program, career services was kind of a constant, and it was nice to have that constant because at every corner you could kind of turn back and apply it to, okay, I'm taking this course. How do I apply this to, my resume, or how do I apply this to my LinkedIn, or how do I leverage LinkedIn to find the career I'm trying to find, or, how many times can I go over my resume to make sure that it's going to get through the various filters that exist. A lot of that stuff's automated and you want to make sure you get through. So having the career services arm, I think, was extremely helpful. In fact, one of the most meaningful moments of my program was we took a trip to the museum. There was the art museum. And we actually ended up doing some like self-reflection and some inward looking, and it was neat. I really, really enjoyed the career services piece. Yeah.
So it works well for you, and the whole predicament as such is going from the beginning of COVID to having that initial position rescinded to you at the beginning, going into the academic side. So you're able to move forward. So what are you doing now? What is your position? So what are you doing?
So I am a human capital consultant for a Big Four accounting and consulting firm, KPMG. It was one of those shot in the dark things. I applied, and I remember on the application, you fill out where you do your MBA or where you did your master's degree, and there's a drop-down list, and it's like Harvard, Yale, and then other. And so on a whim, I put other. And I was fortunate enough that one of my interviewers was actually from the Atlanta area. And he said, Mercer University, that's fantastic. I was so glad to see an Atlanta Mercer grad. And so that was kind of neat coming into Big Four. But I am a human capital consultant, and I spend the majority of my day helping large organizations solve problems that affect their people. So that can be anything from learning and development training, that can be large-scale change management, that can be organizational strategies and design, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. So you went from that, okay, I'm not too sure, small area, to now you're going into one of the largest Big Four companies in the world. That's absolutely fantastic. And that was I'm sure it's quite an adventure for you. It is always nice that you carry a name that is recognized. It may not be on those initial one or two drop downs, but it is actually that ability to be recognized. I think that's pretty awesome. So sort of to wrap this up, what advice would you give to someone who is contemplating starting an MBA program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that especially if you're thinking about, there's two routes to take. If you're thinking about continuing and being like you'd mentioned earlier, professional student, the full-time programs are really kind of neat. It's an immersive experience. And that's a really a neat way to do the MBA, to kind of immerse yourself in the curriculum, the career services, the kind of dedicate yourself for a year kind of thing. And pop in, pop out, right? So you can, within a year, you can really, really, really focus and hone your craft. The other thought process is, you can do a more traditional MBA program. It takes you a little longer, a couple of years, but that's while you're working, right? And so for me, that full-time program worked out to be able to have that really impactful, short, yet powerful experience.
Fantastic. Well, Josh, thank you very much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. I know it's a busy time in your life right now. But again, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.